Hi, everybody. I don't know if you're watching this Netherlands-Argentina match, but it looks to me like it was they went to a soccer game and a hockey match. A hockey game broke out. Man, oh man. Happy Friday. We've got an action-packed show, a lot of stuff. We've got, this is not the Sailing Illustrated, this is Soccer Football Illustrated today. Everybody's talking about what's going on. Good evening, John Emmett. Hello, Alistair Murray. Got a nice Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote in our show. Another good report from John Emmett, superb report, in fact. Preview of next week's World Match Racing Tour finals that have moved from China to Sydney, a Bravo Zulu or two, and we'll reveal whether that GBR folk boat photo I had on my, what is going on in this match? Fantastic stuff. So was that earlier match today. Welcome, everybody. Let's get this one off the dock. Show number 572.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. I don't want to cut away to my, well, you can see it here on camera too as I'm watching it. I don't want to go in and put the audio up. But what a game this has been. They're now into the 10th minute of extra time, and it was 10 minutes was what was allocated. And there's going to be the Dutch are going to have one last shot, it looks like, on what's on goal. You can see them lined up here. And the Argentinians are leading 2-1. Unbelievable. Terrific stuff. Bravo Zulu. It's in! They scored! The Dutch have tied it up 2-2. Bloody hell. Hi, everybody. I mean, I can't believe it. That game this morning was tied. It went into the full, 30-minute overtime, and then they had penalty kicks. And the team that looked like they were going to win it, they got lazy. That's Brazil. And as you probably all know, Croatia came out, tied it up right at the end, and then won in penalty kicks. So fantastic stuff going on there. Welcome to our show 572. We got a lot of stuff here on our show today. As I said, it's looking, because everybody's talking about the World Cup. It's been fantastic, even if you're a bloody American. And we call it soccer still. But I even have a revelation on that today. Hi, I'm your host, Tom Eamon, here as usual at the Beach Street Yacht Club here in San Francisco, where it's just shortly after 1 p.m., 1300 in the afternoon on Friday. Julia is again not with us, but we've got some good news on her situation, and we'll go to that right now after we again introduce the pre-start. This is our opening segment, of course, and again, Severn Sailing Association's race committee. Severn Sailing Association, Annapolis, Maryland, opening the pre-start for us. And speaking of Julia, we've made really good progress this week. It looks like she's getting the home help necessary for her to get released from the convalescent home and come home, so she'll be safe and sound here as her broken foot continues to mend and repair, and we hope that she gets back here in the next few days. And if she does, we'll wheel her down here and she can go over to Julia's table and carry on. And that would be it'd be welcome, I'm sure, to all of you as well as to me. It would be huge. It's a huge help to have her here. She doesn't always believe that, but just somebody, a foil, somebody to say, hey, Julia, what do you think of this? And gives me a chance to reset my thinking and carry on. What Rob Sternstein says, he thinks there's an offsides in that last. Doesn't look like it. Man, here we go again. This has been a rough and tumble game. A lot of back and forth. Bloody hell. What a game. Okay, well, they're into the 30-minute, the 2:15-minute overtime, extra time period. And if nobody scores, or if nobody's leading at the end of that 30 minutes is the way it works in soccer, then they go to the penalty kicks, and I guess that could happen again. Hi, everybody. We've got a lot of people on here, lots of people. It'll be great to see her back. Ed Worley is saying yes. And Ed, I'll talk to you about, Ed's been making these submissions for us on America's Cup Trivia, and I want to get that back Well, there's one in the can that I've got here and I haven't used. I know he's itching to get some more, and Ed will talk. Thank you. Wow, the Dutch goal. You heard it first on Soccer Illustrated. Alistair Murray is saying, hi, Don Lunabos up in Sonoma. Rob Sternstein, goal! I can't do it the way the soccer announcers do. Hello from Cape Town, Ted Ryman. Yes, sir, multitasking myself. I'm sure you've all got one eye on this game. And as Mary Jude Szymanski says, hi from Philadelphia. Rob Sternstein's in Boston. Bjorn Sandell, evening all. Hockey players don't whine like that. They don't flop. I mean, it's unbelievable, the flopping that goes on. But everybody's, Hoy Tom and Julia, Christopher Gillingham, good evening from Yell and Shetland, Scotland, Graham Sweeney, and Gordon Smith, as usual, checking in from Denmark. And Alistair Murray is on his way over to Mettung, where he's got his summer home, a couple, 3, maybe 4-hour drive. But he submitted his Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. We've got that today. Just to wrap up on Julia, good news. I was over there this week on Wednesday, as usual, and talking to her on the phone yesterday and again this morning. We were just texting this morning. It looks like we're getting her in-home help sorted out so she can come home to her apartment upstairs. She owns this building in which the Beach Street Yacht Club is, my apartment here on the middle floor. And Julia and her late great husband bought this building back in the 60s. It's a townhouse here in the marina. It's a fantastic spot. We are missing her dearly. So, Julia, it'd be great to have you back. Do you know what day it is today? Here's your first and only clue. I want to be a football star, the kid says. The crouton over on the right says, me, a FIFA boss. I don't know that FIFA's all that corrupt these days, but today, apropos that cartoon, is International Anti-Corruption Day. So, in honor of that, none of us like to see corruption in our lives, in our sports, in our business life. But it's something that the United Nations put together, 10, 20 years ago. International Anti-Corruption Day is observed on December 9th. Every year it serves as a reminder for each of us to actively speak out and fight against corruption in our lives and the lives of others. The UN has declared this day to bring attention to the need to adopt an anti-corruption stance. Well, they should. And that is our segue into FIFA and what's going on in the World Cup, because we're all talking about it. In fact, Emmett talks about it. Alistair Murray, who's interviewing today, has got his guest, the super sailor and coach Andrew Palfrey, in a video interview in a few minutes. Everybody's talking about the World Cup. It's hugely exciting, even those of us who are not necessarily. Meg played soccer, so I followed it. Soccer royalty headlines these 4 matches. The round of 8 is underway, or what some of us would call quarterfinals, along with one Cinderella team. In addition to the royalty, 5-time winner Brazil, who got knocked out this morning. Defending champion France. 2018 finalist Croatia is back in, having beaten Brazil. Argentina and their star Big Leo, or Lionel as it's pronounced in Spanish, Lionel as we'd say here in the U.S., Lionel Messi, who's been fantastic in this game. We're watching England, the Netherlands, and Portugal, with Morocco, who I guess is the Cinderella, is joining the party, making its first ever appearance in the round of 8 or the quarterfinals. So bravo, Zulu, to all those teams, except, of course, my team. And I'll make no bones about it. I thought Brazil, they were my favorite to win. And I texted a few of my Brazilian friends around the world this morning with my condolences. But on Friday, it's a clash of soccer greatness. In that first quarterfinal game, you all know that Brazil lost to Croatia. And that's followed now by this game we're watching. Argentina and the Netherlands are about to start the 30-minute overtime. And it's what a game, what a day of football this has been. The marquee game on Saturday, tomorrow, is England and France, with the intriguing Morocco and Portugal. I mean, they're neighbors across the Med. Match earlier in the day. And the winner of any of these, of course, group of 8 matches, quarterfinal matches, punches their tickets to the semis, where it's just the final 4 teams. And the losers, of course, head home because we're in the knockout stage. That was an amazing, if you didn't see it, go back, look at the replays, look at the videos, because what happened, Brazil, after they went up 1-0, they had 9 minutes left in the game, 10 minutes, something like that. And they looked like they quit. It looked like they were celebrating, and they were going to get it as usual. I mean, they're one of the 5 of the last 6 World Cups they've been in the something. They've gotten into the semis at least, but not this time. They got knocked out by a very cagey Croatia, a team they call here in the U.S. They call them the Cardiac Kids. Come from behind Croatia, Cardiac Kids. Fantastic stuff. And everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about these 4. I don't know how to pronounce Luka's last name, Modric, I guess, from Croatia, and Kylian Mbappe from France, Lionel Messi from Argentina, and of course Neymar, who's now knocked out from Brazil, who was also fantastic in that match today, the Brazilian match, but they are gone. So my choice, my favorite, after the U.S. got knocked out, are out. Who is your favorite? If you want to update in the comments now who you think is going to win. I know a lot of the Brits on here favoring the Brits, and probably some Aussies and Kiwis that'll cheer for the Brits as well. The Aussies having been knocked out, and it's just amazing. The master, and Emmett, who says he's one of these, he says in the video we're going to play in a moment, that to his report today, he says he's a Brit who's one of the few who probably doesn't follow football. Ivan Grekov saying, yep, it's been just excellent. It's been great. Hello, Julie Aarons. I'll call you after the show. Hello, everybody. It's cloudy and cold here in Cleveland. Julie's still miffed at me because I'm down on Grant Dalton for being the CEO of both the event and the team. As you know, I've said that in the last couple of shows. Not that he's not capable of doing that. I mean, look at Elon Musk runs I don't know how many companies these days, including Twitter, and I'm sure Grant is a very capable businessman. I'm sure is more than capable of running both. It's the idea, it's the appearance. Never has the event CEO also been the team CEO, and that's what my beef is with that, Julie Aarons, and I'll call you and discuss it after the show. Who's your favorite? Graham Sweeney's still supporting Morocco. Zhao, hi Zhao Alexander. He's saying his home country, Portugal, will win. That's interesting. Who knows? I mean, France is perennially strong. We'll see how they go tomorrow against the UK. Monica Diaz, disappointed that her Spanish team didn't get through. But fantastic stuff. And after the Croatian win, I texted Norbert Byron there on the left. This is a photo from bloody hell 10 years ago. That he was then the Golden Gate Yacht Club Commodore. Norbert on the left, Norbert Byron, who is originally from Croatia, still has a home there. And he's very excited. He thought it was, obviously, he's very pleased to see his team moving forward. So I sent him a nice text. And then the only other thing I've got to say, although I have one other segment about soccer football here later in the show. They say that we are, the Brits and the U.S. are 2 countries separated by a common language. Well, I thought it was the Americans who called it soccer, and no one else in the world called it soccer. Well, that is apparently not true. Apparently, soccer came to the U.S. because the Brits called it soccer up until, 40, 50 years ago, according to research done at the University of Michigan, my alma mater. So maybe that's suspect, but I don't think so. I've read it all over the place that the Brits used to call it soccer, and soccer and football were used interchangeably in England until they realized they didn't want to be associated with the Americans and started calling the game football exclusively. The British now mock we Americans for using soccer. John Emmett, is that true? You mock us for calling it soccer when apparently your country started soccer. We didn't start soccer as a term, but when our pro soccer league got established here, we think of it as soccer because we have our American gridiron football, and in Australia you all have Aussie rules football, which gets called footy. Some people call rugby footy. What the hell? Common countries or different countries separated by a common language. So much for that. That source on that quote there at the bottom is from Wikipedia. And we'll get into now, before we get just into an upcoming show schedule, before we get into the main part of the show. We will not do show next Friday. We'll do a show Tuesday as usual, next Tuesday, but Friday the 16th, 16th. I'm in the plane going to SoCal. We have a Christmas party for our sailing team down there next weekend. So no show next Friday the 16th, but we are, as usual, and I've confirmed this with Julia, we're going to do a Sunday the 25th, Christmas night, our Christmas night, your Boxing Day down under, we'll do a watch party for the start of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart yacht race. We'll do a watch party, and that normally starts about 6 p.m. our time on Christmas night, which is noon your time down under, I think. Is that right? Roundabout in Sydney, and we'll confirm those times in due course. If you would please, this show, as usual, is brought to you by our patrons on patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, and it's the holiday season. We want to thank, again, our patrons who do help keep us on the air with a few bucks a month, $5, $10. Some people a lot more than that, and it's really greatly appreciated. You know, I'm a old guy now on Social Security, fixed income, and this is really my passion and job, so we appreciate any support. Okay, we are to the starting line, and as usual, John Emmett. Though I was going to do a regatta walkabout on the 16th. Well, John, do it next Tuesday instead, if you can. Didn't the Brits? Oh, the regatta probably doesn't start till after that. Okay, I better stay here with the comments for a sec. Didn't the Brits start what you guys call American football too? I'm not sure about that. They started rugby, and then I think we converted rugby to football. Is that how it worked? Neil Collingridge says it's very cold. Watching the footy in London, he says it's very cold there. What else? We still use the word soccer, Pindar. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. And Gordon Smith, I've given up guessing after Morocco and Croatia made progress. He's not sure who's going to win. We're watching this other game. It's still tied 2-2, as you can see here on the two. Interesting stuff. We're in the starting line. John Emmett, here's what we'll do. Tell you, why don't you do your regatta walk around next Friday morning? And if you get it to me early in the morning before I have to go to the airport, or even Thursday night, if you can get it to me Thursday night, I will tape a segment, just a brief segment for next Friday, and then it will air a taped segment next Friday, if that's your druthers. We can do that. It won't be a live show, though, and it won't be a long show. It'll just be a brief cameo appearance by John and myself. Okay, we're to the starting line, and this photo is from the Eastern Hemisphere champs, Star Class champs, earlier this year in Naples, and we appreciate it. Gets us to our segment with Coach Emmett. Coach's Corner with John Emmett from Great Britain, of course, and he is in Portugal again, or still, training his mentee. Here's his report.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. You might not be able to tell from my background, but it's not very sunny Portugal at the moment. In fact, I've really had to pick my moment today to get the camera out when it wasn't raining too much. So we need to be very aware of the weather, but I do know this is first world problems, and I'm very, very lucky to be full-time sailing and a full-time coach. Of course, the rain itself doesn't really cause us too many problems. I love the Finnish sailing, saying no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothes. So we need to be, really thinking about this. The temperature here is very good. The problem with the rain is obviously it makes everything wet. And I'm really sorry to say, unfortunately, my sailor, Abru, had a little fall off her bike, so a little shoulder injury, nothing too bad, just lots of internal bruising. Working really hard now just to get that range of motion back so we can do the regatta. And it's just like any sort of training, when this rehab training, the harder you work, and it is uncomfortable, the harder you work, the quicker you'll get there. And to get back that range of motion, you really do need to push yourself. It's quite uncomfortable. I've had 2 shoulder operations and fallen off my bike, so I'm a bit of an expert, not through choice. But yeah, injury is an interesting topic and maybe something we can discuss at a future date, although I'm a big fan of injury prevention because prevention is definitely better than cure. But another random top tip, and I do get messages from people wanting coaching top tips. When you fall off a bike, it happens in an instant, but you need to think about tucking and rolling like a ball, this sort of thing. So actually you probably land on this muscle here, the lat, maybe you bruise a few ribs or whatever, but that's the safest place. If you put your hands out, you can break your clavicle, your collarbone, or you can damage your ACJ, and of course you really want to protect your head. We actually had a little fall before doing the movie shoot in Weymouth as well. So hopefully third time lucky, but that's why visualization is so important, to have that instinct, the best way to react. And again, you know, wishing Julia a very speedy recovery from her injury. As somebody in my mid-40s, I'm always very jealous at how quickly people in their early 20s recover. So, so far so good. Would be remiss of me not to mention the football. People who know me know I'm probably one of the least into football English people out there. But there is something very special about this big tournament. In fact, I'm really looking forward to watching the game tomorrow. Really good social occasion. And I wonder if this is something that sailing as a sport can tap into, that when we have these big competitions, to get non-sailors or people who are, you know, just sort of patriotic or whatever, just to tune in and take an interest, because I know the football, you know, the major competitions, they grab my interest in a way that nothing else would. And yeah, it's nice to have these little comments on the videos, so when we look back, you know, 100 shows ago, we can see what was going on then. So yeah, wishing everybody a safe and fit time as we move into the winter, and see you all on the show.
Thank you, John Emmett. And I think there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, why don't we start with the cycling, because it's interesting. In fact, Alistair Murray, who's a big cyclist, as you know, cyclist, psycho. Alistair's watching, or at least listening. He was driving, I think. And there are a lot of Aussies in particular. I know that Ian Murray, big fellow's a cyclist. There are a lot of America's Cup guys and gals who cycle to stay in shape. And of course, Ineos Britannia, one of the reasons I think they are training in Mallorca is because the Ineos cycling team trains there. So I think that's convenient. It's a nice place to bike. And it is interesting how many people do bike for health, for pleasure, and benefit, for exercise. And maybe we should do a little bit more looking into that. Alistair, maybe you can do something more specialized in one of your future A4s for us. John Emmett saying, yeah, Palma is a cycling paradise. So interesting stuff. And then maybe, John, we should have John tell our President Biden how to fall, because he seems to fall on his bicycle from time to time. I didn't know that. That makes sense. Don't put your hands out, break your wrist, or put your elbow out. Roll onto your lats, he said. So interesting. Game is still 2-2. I'll shout out, if those of you who aren't watching it on another screen, in the 103rd minute, as they are obviously in this 30-minute overtime, extra time. You call it extra time or overtime? Number one crossover sports for sailors, Andrew Pindar is saying. Interesting. I didn't know that, Andrew, but I'm not surprised by that. I think we should work on that. See what some more, because I know Ian Burns and Alistair, as we mentioned, Alistair Murray, and a lot of other folks are cyclists. What's the proper term? Gordon Smith, sorry to hear about the bike accident. I hope it's not too serious. Gordon, by the way, who's a Brit living. Ooh, that was close. Looks like the Argentinians, are putting the pressure on the Dutch here. It looks like they've had the ball down in their offensive end most of this last few minutes. Gordon Smith saying he's what did he say? Football is a gentleman's game played by hooligans, and rugby is a hooligan's game played by gentlemen. And there's a lot of comments. I'm not going to read them all, but back and forth about, I said this is going to be football, soccer, football illustrated today, and maybe cycling illustrated too. But that's, we talk about our lives. We talk about what we do. And of course, it's our beautiful sport of sailing, our favorite sport that glues us all together. John says, yes, he'll do a walk around, and we'll run some kind of a tape then next Friday. Not a live show, but we'll do a video show. And I think I saw a note from Ted Ryman down in Cape Town, who is a Brit originally, saying he's still cheering, of course, for the Brits, for England, at least. England, can't say Brits, that's England, right? Because there are different teams from the different members of the United Kingdom. So that's our report from Olympic coach John Emmett, who, when we get his audio going at that last, I like that. John, do you like it? I chose this, not John. Your theme music? John Emmett sailing, get to the front of the fleet. I bought an electric assist bike to get me back into form, Gordon Smith is saying in Denmark. For the less fit, I can really recommend it. Well, it's a little hilly here in San Francisco for bikes, although right here in the marina, where it's dead flat between the yacht club and what's called Cow Hollow, which used to be it was a farm. It was a cow grazing area. It's pretty flat, and then you go up the hills into San Francisco. This is, because this is Soccer Football Illustrated, this is Tom's goes off on another tangent. Again, this is the last thing I'm going to say about football today. But I came across this morning, and I saw the image, and besides being a good-looking young Asian guy, his name is Hwang Hee-chan, I think, from Korea, and this was on one of our websites here. And the question is, what's this black thing around his neck? Is it some kind of a sports bra or some kind of a fitness device? And he was wearing this in the game against, who'd they play on the 2nd of December? Can't remember who they played. Was it Australia? Do any of you know what that is? I didn't know. I had no idea. But apropos coaching, yeah, well, that bra ain't going to work, Graham Sweeney's saying. Yeah, it's obviously not for anti-chafe of your nipples, but is it doing something else? And Gordon Smith said he's seen that apparently on the tube. He wondered about the sports bra. Well, Sailing Illustrated, we have the answer. Australian jockstrap, Pindar is saying. Well, that would be a little high for a jockstrap, but no, I don't think so. Anybody else know what that is? John Emmett, do you know? Because I really put this in for John Emmett, and I'm wondering if it's not applicable to our sport, especially for coaches. Anybody else have a comment? Clean or otherwise? Julia's got her finger, I'm sure, over in the convalescent. Neck support, Ted Ryman's asking. I'm glad nobody else knows what it is, because I had no idea when I saw that this morning. You can ride a bike as training for the same amount of time as a race takes. Just Julie Aaron saying, just walking the hills in San Francisco leaves me breathless, and I'm in good shape. Wardrobe malfunction, I think he means, Ed Worley. Maybe to encourage keeping shoulders back. I thought that at first too, that it was some kind of a posture device. John Emmett, no. Well, I'll give you the answer. And thanks to Amin Mohammed Jamal from Getty Images for this image, which was, I found, as I said, on a website called popsugar.com. It's not there for pec support or to prevent chafing, although maybe that helps. The, quote, sports bras worn by men's soccer players are actually GPS tracker vests. Each vest has a tracker in the back that provides a ton of data for coaches, trainers, and players to learn from. According to Catapult Sports, which sells them, GPS vests can measure how much and how hard the players are working, including things like total distance, top speed, number of sprints, sprint distance, power load, and intensity. In other words, after a tough game or practice, the coaching staff can immediately find out how much effort their players exerted and tailor subsequent training sessions, or maybe tailor subsequent dressing downs, like you, Crouton, you were lazy out there today. Tailor subsequent training sessions accordingly, or tweak their recommendations for recovery, John Emmett. It can also provide interesting nuggets of information for fans, such as the fact that Polish striker Robert Lewandowski recorded the highest average distance walked during the group stage of the World Cup, and just edging out Argentina's Lionel Messi, according to FIFA data via The Athletic, which is another website. Good one. Meanwhile, U.S. left back Anthony Robinson reached the fourth highest top speed in the group stage at 35.4 kilometers kph, nearly 22 miles per hour. So that's Maggie Ryan writing on the popsugar.com website. And that was, I guess it's news to a lot of you as well. It was all news to me. Now, John Emmett's not going to be as interested in how much running and walking and what speed his mentees, as those of you who are coaching other sailors. But maybe the data, if they're wearing this and it's individual and it works, aside from the tracking devices that get used in the not very accurate, less accurate tracking systems for regattas, for races. Maybe this is something that if two teams are out practicing together that it's really accurate, like America's Cup teams have the accuracy of their tracking devices. But if it's something you wear around your neck and you put it on a laser sailor training against another laser sailor, see if one's a little higher, a little faster, a little lower, a little, a little higher and slower, a little lower and faster. Might be interesting. I don't know. We use Whoop, John's saying. Whoop. The soccer, I didn't know this. Gordon Smith saying the soccer balls used at the World Cup are actually full of sensors detailing position, speed, and impact. I didn't see that. I don't see that data on our screen here on the Fox network that's covering it, the Big Fox Broadcast Network. Pedro Foiling Sailor. Happy Christmas, happy holidays to you, sir, as well. Putting a nice comment. Okay, Maggie Ryan, thank you for that on Pop Sugar. That's another. Tom goes off on a tangent. I couldn't help it. Okay, let's go back to the comments here for a moment. Didn't they use those vests in the IMOCA? Graham Sweeney is asking. They have wireless charging stations at the side of the pitch for the balls. Cool. I haven't seen any of that data. Have any of you seen that data? All the rugby jerseys have trackers in them at international level, can be seen at the base of the neck between shoulder blades. Luca Craig, thanks, Luca. He's normally down in New Zealand, in Auckland. Okay, a bunch of smart people on here, a bunch of interesting facts. Let's get to, speaking of facts, a little factoid for this day in history. This day in history, the 9th of December, and the date is 1854. Do you know what happened on this day in 1854? Here's your first clue. You know who that is? You Brits must know this. It's not only the soccer show, it's also the British show. You know who that is? Alfred Lord Tennyson. Lived from 1809 to 1890. And for a lot of that period, in his adult life at least, he was the poet laureate, I think, for Her Majesty Queen Victoria. The early America's Cup days, he was an English poet that served here it is, poet laureate for most of the reign of Queen Victoria. Some of his best-known poems include I Claribel and Mariana. Some of his phrases have sunk into the English language, including, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." But what happened? Does anybody know? On this day, apropos, Alfred Lord Tennyson. Does that help? There's another clue. Ed Worley's got it. Charge of the Light Brigade. And what happened? Was it the charge? No, I think the charge was in September. There's the painting, the famous painting by Richard Woodville, a Brit. And it was on this day that it was in October, I guess, not September, in 1854, that the charge of the Light Brigade is infamous as an act of bravery in the face of all surmountable odds and maybe stupidity on the part of the commanders. On the 25th of October, members of the British Light Cavalry led a charge by mistake into the heart of the Russian Imperial Army. 110 soldiers died in the charge, 161 were injured, and 475 horses were killed. The British poet laureate Alfred Tennyson would go on to immortalize the event in his poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward. All in the Valley of Death rode the 600, forward the Light Brigade. Charge for the guns, he said, into the Valley of Death rode the 600, forward the Light Brigade. Was there a man dismayed? No, though the soldier knew someone had blundered. There's not to make reply, there's not to reason why. There's but to do and die. Yeah, Andrew Pindar. I memorized that in school. Probably a lot of you did. And there is that famous poem. Tennyson's The Charge of the Light Brigade is particularly famous for its depiction, and I didn't know this, but it makes total sense, for its depiction of the end of the era of cavalry dominance. The poem's thesis was to be proved beyond doubt in the First World War, when modern weaponry caused a horrific end to the preeminence of cavalry. So it was on this day that that poem was published, historic publication in 1854 of Lord Alfred Tennyson's, Alfred Lord Tennyson, I should say, Charge of the Light Brigade, published in the Examiner newspaper in the UK. on this day in 1854. Okay? Welcome to, if you're just joining us, we're about 35 minutes into show number 572 on Friday the 9th of December. We've got some, Julia, did you notice? I actually took some poinsettia to Julia in the convalescent home the other day and put one here in the studio behind me and one over there behind Julia to get us in the festive mood. Wore my green sports coat today because it is the holiday season and we're all, I'm sure, getting to be in the holiday spirit. And I'll tell you, this video is one of the best I've ever had, but you know, Emmett's are all good, but this one from Alistair is truly awesome. And this is Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote for this week. He's been away for a couple weeks, but this one, Alistair, you really outdid yourself with Andrew Palfrey. Enjoy.
G'day, Tom and Julia and all the Fosey. This is Alistair checking in with his AAAA, Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote for the week. And as you know, I like to introduce you to interesting people that I mix with and hang out with around the place. And today I've got Andrew Palfrey, otherwise known as Doggy, and Tom. I believe you know each other. So welcome, Andrew.
Thanks, Alistair. I'm just sort of, wiping some sweat out of my eyes here. Alistair's been setting a cracking pace on Beach Road here in Melbourne. We always catch up for a ride when I come back home here from England. So yeah, it's good to be here.
Good on you, mate.
G'day, Tom.
This is our post-race coffee, which is actually why we ride, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, we ride to drink coffee or tell lies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So cheers. Anyway, so Doggy's well known to most sailors in the world as a professional coach, current world 5.5 metre champion, two-time Olympian.
One time.
Oh, one time.
One-time Olympian.
Yeah. I'm pumping up your tyres there, mate.
Well back.
And you started with Ian Murray, the big fella.
I did. Yes. In the Star in China. Yep.
Yeah. And what are you working on now? What are your latest projects?
Well, sort of freelance coaching. Next year I'm working with Interlodge, American TT52 team in the Super Series, and Key West as well. I sail with Peter Duncan in the Etchells and Mark Mendelblatt.
Yeah, from
Mendels. Yes, Peter's from New York and
Mark
from
used
Florida.
To work for Ronstand.
There you go.
There you go.
One of your best salesmen.
One of the alumni. Yeah.
We're also, I sail 5.5s with Peter Morton of Cowes, and we won the Worlds last year, which was fantastic, and we're building another boat currently. So sort of trying to manage the build of that from afar at the moment. That's happening in Cowes to a David Holland design. And with Team Aqua we're in the RC44s as well. All good.
Yeah.
So we're hanging out with nice people.
Fantastic. Speaking of hanging out with nice people, it was good to have you sailing with us on Wednesday. So Doggy came out on our boat to give us a few tips.
Oh, there you go.
And I've got some bad news for you, Doggy. So this is going to breaking today. So we're sailing downwind, and Doggy came up with this fantastic new system that we called sailing downwind Doggy style. Wave your finger, Julia.
No comment.
Which is actually letting the headsail go at the tack, because this is no extra sail. We're sailing two sail only. You let the headsail go at the tack. You hoist the jib another 2 or 3 feet up the forestay, and then you put a strop on the bottom, and your jib is that much higher and that much more effective. We did it and couldn't believe how fantastic it was. Guess what, Doggy? It's not legal.
Is it not?
No.
Tell me how it's not legal.
There's a specific rule in this series, and we came up with it.
In the series, okay.
Thanks, mate, for the orange juice. And the rule says that your headsail downwind must be attached to the tack at the same point as which it is when you go to windward.
Oh, that's pretty clear.
Bugger it.
There you go.
Yeah, thanks, mate. So we thought we'd gain this great advantage and it was going to sweep through the whole fleet like wildfire, but disappointing.
There you go.
So Doggy's from Melbourne and currently living in Cowes, right?
I do. Yeah. Yep. Been there for 12 years. Nice, really nice sailing community there, and Isle of Wight is a lovely place to hang out.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place. And he's in Melbourne to basically visit his son Toby.
That's it.
Tell the folks what Toby does.
So Tobes has always been interested in golf, and he landed a job as an apprentice greenkeeper at a place called Victoria Golf Club here in Melbourne, which was just sort of happened by accident. So he moved as a 17-year-old halfway across the world, and has finished his apprenticeship. He's now 21, and this weekend they are hosting the Australian Open at his course.
Yeah.
So there's major winners playing there. I went and had a look yesterday. Proud dad moment. This amazingly manicured golf course that Tobes has been a part of preparing for the last 4 years. So yeah,
Brilliant.
Good times.
Well, Tom and the Fosey are interested in all sports, and we had a chat on the show this morning actually about the World Cup soccer.
Yeah.
And Tom asked for the tips, and I said Australia was going to win the whole enchilada easily.
Easily.
And Tom was laughing.
We're up against, we're up against Argentina. What have they ever done in football? Like, really? They haven't produced any good players, you know.
Yeah.
They should be fine.
Yeah. We'll see. And we'll all be following it, which is, it's like taking Australia by storm, because it's not the real mainstream sport here. We really follow Aussie rules and cricket. But when the World Cup's on and you make the last 16,
I love it. I love it.
It's taken over.
I actually can watch any game, and regardless of who's playing, I just love when it pans to the audience, and they're so passionate.
Yeah.
You know, even this morning was a great game. Oh gee, who was playing? It was Switzerland and Serbia. There was a heated match actually.
Come around here, Toby. Just come in behind us here. I'm just filming a little interview. So
here's Toby, my son. He's just done a.
This is for Sailing Illustrated in the USA, which is a sailing blog.
What did you do this morning, Tobes? You got up at 3 and you've got the course ready.
Cut fairways.
Cut the fairways.
Cut fairways.
Good on you, mate. That's fantastic. All right, Tom and Julie, that's it for now. As you know, I like to introduce you to great people, and the Palfrey family fits that mould very nicely. Great to catch up with you all, and check into your next show. See you guys.
Adios.
Bye.
Bravo Zulu, fantastic. And if any, again, it's not the easiest thing to do. Andrew Palfrey is a great interview, but Alistair is just fabulous, as is John at these sorts of interviews. An interview wants to grab a sailor. Andrew's a long time. I've known him, acquaintance. He's not we haven't hung out. We've had dinner once or twice, or maybe a drink here or there. And he's just a super coach and a super sailor, obviously. Won this summer the 5.5 World Championship at Henko Yacht Club in Norway. And I've got a little video of that. Let's have a look. While we're looking at this, the Dutch just hit the goal post, almost scored. They're really putting a lot of pressure on the Argentine. Still 2-2 in the 120th minute.
Here we are. It's pretty surreal. I feel a little bit hollow that Morty's not here to share this with us. But in a nice moment on the way in, and called him, he was very nice. But extremely satisfying. It hasn't really sunk in. It's been a bit of a battle all week. Extremely satisfying.
Okay, I'm not going to play the whole tape, but I just wanted to congratulate again. We may have covered this a bit. I didn't go back and look. Clark Chapin would know. Yeah, real music too. Fantastic boats, fantastic class. I think Robert Deves, who does the Finn and the OK Dinghy PR, also I think does the 5.5. Bravo Zulu to Andrew Palfrey. It was nice to meet his son Toby, this is not only Cycling Illustrated and Soccer Illustrated, but it's also Golf Illustrated. So, okay, there's Sam Haines. We're going to let this go and move forward. And thank again, Alistair, for his latest awesome Aussie anecdote. Keep it up, Alistair. I love it when you interview other sailors. Australian or otherwise, and I'm sure the Fozy do as well. Okay, as promised in our, you see there in the lower third on our cover slide that I have to choose what the theme of the show is the night before when I put it up and promo it and so on, and do the auto, so you can click on it and the thing will go live. John Emmett also puts it onto some of his feeds, but I chose for today's theme next week's World Match Racing Tour Final in Sydney, and I still think it's the biggest thing going, and pleased to talk about it. And it is happening. There is the WMRT trophy, and I'll maybe get James Pleasance on Tuesday. I know he's en route. I believe he's en route to Sydney. He was there just a few weeks ago, and after being in Auckland for another event, the women's Worlds Match Racing. But there's the trophy. It's the regatta, the WMRT final, which was to be in China, is the 13th through the 18th of December now in Sydney. That beautiful town, fabulous racing, sailing town. Here's a live shot, by the way, and that's not from Pedro Foiling Sailor. That's from a webcam looking across the bay there. And there's no finer place. We can talk about cows, we can talk about Newport, Rhode Island, talk about San Francisco Bay, but Sydney Harbor has got to be one of the great places. And again, we'll be covering, as in a watch party, the start of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart yacht race. They call it yacht race, and I love that because it is. This is yacht racing. The Dutch word for small pleasure craft, yacht. Doesn't mean gin palaces that are 100 plus feet long. Still 2-2. Penalty kicks coming up next. That's what it says. Unbelievable. Okay. Both games today being resolved in penalty kicks. Back to the WMRT. It's being hosted, I'm sure, in grand style, and bravo Zulu to them. Thanks to the Cruising Yacht Club for coming through, because after the Chinese had to back out because of their horrific, Croutonic COVID policy, people getting in and out of the country it's too difficult. So the CYCA came to their rescue. This was the release from a couple days ago from James Pleasance. The lineup for the 2022 finale of the WMRT has been confirmed, with 10 teams heading to Sydney to compete at the final for the Open Match Racing World Championships, the 13th through the 18th. The event is being co-hosted with the CYCA, home of the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race, with 5 scheduled race days from Wednesday the 14th to Sunday the 18th. So this coming Wednesday through Sunday. The change of venue to Sydney follows the ongoing border closures in China during 2022, which John Emmett and his lovely wife Lily know all too well. Okay, the penalty kick, I'm going to tell you what happens. Netherlands went first and they missed. Here's the replay. Bloody hell. Where was I? The change of the venue to Sydney follows the ongoing border closures, as we were saying, where the WMRT final was previously scheduled to take place in Shenzhen from the 6th to the 11th of December. Strict travel restrictions for international visitors to China since 2020, yada, yada. You know all about this. But thanks to Sydney and the CYCA, quote from James, who's a Fozy, he's been on the show any number of times. We are very excited to see racing get underway next week on the iconic Sydney Harbor, right, Julia? We call this the iconically beautiful San Francisco Bay and reliably windy San Francisco Bay, and Sydney Harbor almost as much. Argentina scores their first penalty shot, so they're up 1-0. Holy cow. Holy cow. It is the first time we have staged the WMRT final in Australia, and we are very grateful to the CYCA for co-hosting the event with us, James said in that quote from their release a couple days ago. Now, as we're going to keep talking about this next Tuesday, but as to the players, 7 countries are being represented at this year's WMRT final. From Denmark, Estonia, France, Italy, they each have 1 entry, whilst hosts Australia, New Zealand, and the USA will each field 2 teams for the event. Defending world champion Taylor Canfield and 6-time world Taylor from the USA, and 6-time world champion Ian Williams, missing an S in their press release there, James, Ian Williams were unable to attend. That's sad because they're both champs and huge. Well, the Netherlands also missed their second one. Unbelievable. The goaltender made a great save, the Argentinian goaltender. Sailing on one of the most iconic waterways in the world, the race course will be situated just off one of the harbor islands, enabling close spectator access as well. The stunning backdrop of Sydney's famous Harbor Bridge and Opera House. I'm back to the webcam there in Sydney Harbor. It's zooming in and out and panning all over the harbor. We'll keep an eye on that. Maybe get another shot. We'll list the rest of the competitors. Argentina's up now 2-0. They just scored their second penalty shot. And they dominated, as I mentioned. I thought they dominated most of that extra time, that overtime. And it looks like they're now going to win. But that goes against my theory as an old hockey player, coach, referee. We used to say that whoever scored late in the third period to tie a game up and force it into overtime had the big the momentum, and usually went on to win the game in overtime. But this does not look like Netherlands, having come from behind and tied it up, does not look so happy at the moment. We'll give you the list of all the players on Tuesday's show and cover this some more. Maybe get James on here. I texted him early this morning to see if he could come on today or tomorrow. And the final is at the CYCA in Sydney, and James is also, we're bravo Zulu to him. He and the CYCA have two official presenting partners, Prime. I'm not sure who Prime is, and Zenus Bank. And the Netherlands have just scored, so they're now they've got one penalty kick point, and the Argentinians are still up 2 with the third to come here. We'll see what they get. Bravo Zulu, we're looking forward to that event next week, Wednesday through Sunday in Sydney, so our Tuesday through Saturday here in the U.S. of A. Okay, another, I'm watching this, bloody hell. And the Argentinians are up now 3-1. They've scored all 3 of their penalty kicks. Well, amazing. Okay, I don't want to get knocked off the air, but because FIFA, after the game, after the show, when I showed a little clip of the game, I don't know when it was, a week or two ago, and then FIFA lodged a complaint, and I got a copyright strike, and I protested and said, hey, sorry, this is news access. It was brief. It was very short. We're not showing it. And they came back and allowed it, and they removed their complaint. And I can't remember if it was Facebook or YouTube or both, but thank you, FIFA, for doing that. And now the Dutch have scored, so it's Argentina leading 3-2 with the Argentine having one more. And we'll see. We'll keep you posted. You're probably all watching it on your own tubes, right, too? Bravo Zulu, we'll carry on here. Bravo Zulu to Sail GP and the British Sail GP team and the Inspire program. We're going to have the guy that runs the Inspire program, and I talked to him again this week. We'll get him on here because this program is impressive. And this kid, who they feature in the film from Plymouth earlier this year, and it just came out. This video from Sail GP just came out. But, okay, we're going to watch this because this is for all the marbles. See what happens here as the Argentinians could win with this kick, right? Misses. Keeps the Dutch still in it. But watch this video in the meantime. Fantastic.
Well, I started sailing when I was really little because both my parents sailed. I think my first time was on my grandparents' little cruiser thingy, and that was before I was even 1. So I've kind of been in sailing for ages. I'm Ben Tilecote and I'm from Rutland Sailing Club. So I was 14 when I was diagnosed with cancer, and after 2 years of treatment, I was kind of given the all clear, and now I'm 18, a few years on from that, and loving sailing and loving being back to normal life. With that illness, they actually had to remove my right eye, which, yeah, I don't actually notice it that much. It doesn't make too much of a difference. So obviously, being ill was not great, and I did actually stop sailing for a few months just because the doctors were like, you want to be careful, low immunity and stuff, you don't want to be in the water too much. But after a few months, I think I was a bit fed up of not sailing, so I kept sailing. With chemotherapy, it does make you quite a bit more tired, but that was the great thing about being on Rutland. It's a lake, I could just stop every now and then, miss days, and because it was so social, it wasn't all about getting results, so it wasn't like I was really put out by not being able to compete at the level I maybe wanted to. I don't really notice like big disadvantage or anything. I think even if there were, I'm quite positive I'd probably just look past it, but yeah, I really haven't noticed many difficulties in that regard, and obviously everyone's super welcoming. It's not like a big thing at all. I've been to Plymouth once before for the Youth Nationals. I was sailing a laser radial then. Obviously the Wasp is quite a different boat. It's definitely exciting and a good new experience.
I got to come back to tell you the results. The Argentinians have won 4-2-3 in penalty kicks, and just astonishing set of games today. Okay, enough of that. This kid is inspiring and astonishing in his own way. Let's go back to that.
Because I'm definitely still learning, and obviously learning off the coaches and the other sailors is a great opportunity. I'm very glad I got to come. We went on the tech tour yesterday, got to talk to a load of sailors, Pete Burling, Blair Tuke, Jimmy Spithill. With all of the Inspire people, it's just like we all hope to be up there competing against them someday. Thankfully, sailing is kind of a sport where you can do it at any level, so I was able to keep sailing. And because I had so many friends in sailing, it's such a great sport in that respect. It's very social. It was kind of something I could still keep on doing. So it's kind of been there throughout my best times and my worst times.
Great stuff. Bravo Zulu Sail GP. Bravo Zulu to this kid. What is Steve Tylercote? Is that his name? What an inspirational story. A beautiful video. Ted Ryman says, great kid. John Emmett, do you know him? John's put a link up here in the comments about him doing some team racing, I guess. Emmett says his parents are great sailors and good mates of mine. Okay, so John knows him. I'm going to get that kid on. John, if you'd send him a link too, I would love to get him on the show sometime. He's an inspiration for everybody, young and old, and I just think that is a fabulous video. Bravo Zulu. Yep, the Argentinians have won. The congratulations are going on, and we'll carry on here. So it's what, Croatia and Argentina on Tuesday? Is that when that game is? Fantastic. Sport is great. If we could just get less war and more sport. While we're on the Brits, this is not only the cycling show and the football show, it's all the Brit show today, I think. Ben Ainslie has a new backer on board for his team, for his Sail GP team, as the Sail GP continues to grow, and it looks like they're getting more and more financial backing, which is good news all around. This from Reuters yesterday. Britain's Ben Ainslie hailed a new investment valuing his privately owned Sail GP team at $40 million US as a vote of confidence in sailing's equivalent of Formula One. London-based Misland Capital will join Ainslie, the most successful Olympic sailor of all time, as a shareholder in the privately owned Great Britain Sail GP team. Ainslie, who will remain his team's majority owner, said there were further commercial deals in the pipeline, both for the Brits and the league, which was, quote, on the verge of signing a really impressive partnership. Now, Ben would know, talking with Sir Russell, no doubt, and Russell's keeping, no doubt, Tom Slingsby and Sir Ben and a few of the others posted. Quote, Ben goes on to say, the key message is there are people who are investing in this league and franchise in a significant manner, unquote. Ben adding that while Sail GP still owns most of the teams, it is looking to them to adopt a similar structure to his. That's Alexander Smith writing yesterday on Reuters on that wire service. And bravo Zulu to Ben, to Sail GP, and to all the teams who are making this happen. I know a lot of you are getting more and more interested in Sail GP as some of the interest in the American Cup boat race, which Julia doesn't like me to call it, wanes. That would be really good news and an answer to Larry Ellison's prayers, Clark Chapin is saying. Yep, indeed it would be. What's else is going on here? I know parents. Okay, yeah, Dad. Okay, we mentioned that. By the way, apropos Clark Chapin, I just want to say that Clark's. Remember, on our 4th of July weekend, Clark and his lovely and longtime friend, wife, and very talented musically and otherwise, wife Karen, were in a horrific car crash. It was not their fault. They were driving home from our home club, our Portage Yacht Club in Michigan, back to their home in Plymouth, Michigan. It's about a 30, 35-minute drive. And a car coming, and I don't know if the guy was, was under the influence of A, B, or C, but was coming at them and swerved into their lane, bounced off the car in front of Clark and Karen, and then hit Clark's car. And I've reported on this. It sadly, tragically, it killed Karen's mother, who was riding in the back seat of their car. It was it was a good modern car, too. And luckily, Karen and Clark survived. Karen took the brunt of it. She's been in hospital for months. Has finally come out in the last month or so. Is at home under rehab. Clark rebuilt the house and get her around, and she's now walking. She's gone to church and helping, I think, with the choir again. And today, Clark finally got a new car to replace the one that was obviously totaled in that collision. So Bravo Zulu Clark, we're thinking about you in this holiday season. And speaking of prayers, hope that Karen continues to improve, make great progress. Okay, let's get to the America's Cup. Speaking of the American Cup boat race and AC37 Cup date, and back to Ben Ainsley. You know that we've told you about this ruling, and it's still open. It's not final yet, but it's as teams opine, and then they draft the decision, and they get more input. It's a step-by-step process. And thank you. I think it was Ed Worley sent me some links to their decision this morning, and I'm following that as well. I talked to Hamish Ross and Brian Willis. They're going to come on the show. They can't come on today, and they can't come on next Friday, but we're going to get them on to talk about sportsmanship in general. They've got they have some very strong views about sportsmanship in our sport, and they're also going to talk about this ruling that appears to outlaw Sir Ben's instrumentation poll, Sir Ben's poll, saying the rules committee saying that it is a mast for the purposes of the class rule. And even though it can't hoist sails up, there's no way it fulfills the intention, my view, of in either the letter or the intention of the rule. I don't think it breaks either. But this rules committee has decided that. And as a result, Ben is out towing his boat around without that instrumentation pole. And here's their latest video.
Ben, if you had to design a day for tow testing, it seems like today on Palmer Bay was like a mill pond for you. It was virtually perfect, wasn't it?
It was a perfect conditions for tow testing, hardly any wind and dead flat water, and it's amazing how clear the water is out here as well. I think for me that was probably the biggest thing that stuck out, the clarity of the water, so perfect for tow testing.
Perfect. Now, what were your objectives when you went out there today? We know the boat's bristling with sensors. Was it all about data gathering, or are you still checking the boat?
Yeah, a bit of both, really. Certainly picking up some data from the sensors, and also trying to get a bit of manual flight control and a bit of autopilot control, with an eye on getting sailing hopefully next week.
Now, 4 of you on the boat today, yourself, Giles, Luke Parkinson, and one more. Lee McMillan. So what was everybody doing on the boat? You and Giles were in the helming stations. What does everybody do on this small boat?
Yeah, so you have two helms and obviously two pilots, 2 trimmers. But depending where you are on the course and what manoeuvre you're doing, pretty much everyone gets involved. Certainly, the helms get involved with different controls on your yacht. So again, the HMI is pretty important, and just trying out some different setups and some different personnel using different HMI at different times. So I think that would be an interesting feature as we develop with sailing these boats and then getting into the 75.
4 of you on the boat, but I feel like there was probably a lot more people involved in the testing today. Are you live linked back to the Mercedes base in the UK?
Yeah, we are both here in Palmer and also back to Brackley, and that's going to be an important shift for us, I think. trying to get that data back to Brackley and all of our engineers there. They're used to it in Formula One. I mean, we've done it a little bit with the Cup. We did it in Bermuda, getting a lot of data back to Portsmouth, where we were based then. So yeah, it's that's working really well for us. That link-up's fine.
Today we saw, I think, double figures, 10 runs, maybe 9 or 10, maybe one more at the end. Top speeds were kind of around 30 on the rib as we were trying to kind of match your speed. Is that what it felt like to you, speed-wise?
Yeah, we were working for a range of different speeds. Actually, probably the most interesting stuff was when we were more on the close to stalling the foil, so around the 15 knot range, something like that. But we're trying lots of different speeds, lots of different setups, as you can imagine, just trying to get the data for the designers, but also from, as I said, from an HMI perspective, how the sailors on board the yacht were able to control the boat through different speeds.
You come away from this day feeling happy? I feel like you've probably gathered more data today than on the previous times the boat's been out towing.
Yeah, it was a good day in terms of data gathering from a tow testing perspective. And now, like I said, we're looking forward to getting in, shift after that now is to get into sailing operations and then start pushing the boat through that, and all the time getting that critical feedback and data for the design team.
The lack of ability to use the towing mast, has that impacted your ability to gather the data, do you think?
Yeah, the only thing that's really impacted is with a towing mast, you can get some towing data with just one foil in the water. So that's the one thing we can't do about a towing mast, but we'd rather have a proper mast than a towing mast when it comes to sailing.
That's a very good way of putting it. So out sailing next week, that's the hope.
Yeah, that's what we're working towards now. Guys have been working really, really hard to get the HMI going for that, and get the rig up, sails up, and get the boat ripping around Palmer Bay. That's what we're looking forward to.
Me too. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks.
You got to wonder if they set a generator or an engine or something right up to where they're next to where they're interviewing Ben. I have, that audio is awful. I got to talk to them and see, because there are ways of EQing it out. But you got to start with as clean audio as possible, as Emmett knows, and his audio, John's audio's come a long way. Our audio, we work really hard on audio because you will tolerate some problems with the video, but if the audio is cutting or it's somehow chronic, you'll leave immediately. No one will tolerate that. And that audio is so hard. I don't know if it's just me and my little earpiece. I turn the speaker on in here. I've tried equalizing the audio myself, but bloody hell. Come on, America's Cup. You can do a better job than that with these interviews. Now, apropos the towing, and he shouldn't call it a towing mast. If I were their rules advisor, I'd say call it a towing pole. And notwithstanding the joke from the comment, it's not snarky, but it's a little off color, and I'm not going to reread it, but you all can go read it. If Julia were here, she would be waving her finger at you, Stingray, for that comment. It's a little sophomore. It's a little juvenile. It's funny though. Okay, but apropos that, having that towing pole, the reason they want to do that is that if you've remember that a boat going through the water, there's a resistance because the boat's hitting the water, right? So the water is slowing it down, is holding it back. What is the force propelling the boat? It's the sail plan. So the boat is going across me like this, and that's my fingers are the bow, and the sail plan is up here. The sail plan is generating the forward motion, and the boat's being held back by the water. So the reason they want the towing pole, in part, not only the instrumentation, but if they can tow it up here, up here and replicate, if that's the right word, the force of the sails pushing the boat forward. So they're towing from up here, which will naturally put the rest of the forces down into the boat. So you've got the sail plan pushing the boat, propelling the boat against the drag of the hull, and that's why having it up a little higher, which would be where the center of effort is in the sail plan, that towing pole makes a lot of sense. And whether they can somehow adjust that in their facts and figures, they probably can. What other comments here? I agree with Ed Worley. I think that that ruling is terrible. I think the intent of that rule, and the letter and the spirit of that rule, was to stop masts on which you hoist sails, and you can only have one, and that was a cost-cutting measure. Okay, I get it. But to have a towing pole for instrumentation or to get the towing loads and forces correct, I think it's ridiculous. Ed Worley's asking about autopilots. There's a lot of discussion. In fact, in one of the Luna Rosa's videos, they talk about out there sailing the 40-footers, which are test platforms, LEQ, less than or equal to 40. LEQ 12s, less than or equal to 12 meters, 40 feet. Massimino's 39.36 feet. Those boats don't qualify as surrogate yachts. They don't get knocked out of under the rules because they're short and small and they're test platforms. And of course, there's supposed to be one design, AC-40s, that are used in the women's and youth competition if it happens. The women's is apparently happening. And these boats, though some of the teams, as you now know, have produced bespoke boats on their own, the Brits and is the Brits a one design that they're modifying? I can't remember now, but for sure the Luna Rosa boat is bespoke. So they're testing things, including this autopilot, which is legal. I'm not sure exactly when and where, but obviously if you're testing, you can have autopilots. And the boats, according to Luna Rosa, as Ed Worley will know from these videos, a couple of others of you, are a lot, they fly a lot better. No surprise when they're flying by wire, when they're flying with the autopilots. And as soon as the humans have to do the ride height, flying the boats, it becomes quite a bit more dodgy. Are we going to see these boats ultimately run, sailed, flown by computers? I sure hope not. I think we're already way too far in that direction. That's just my personal opinion. No, we haven't heard about Georgie's take on Sir Ben's pole stinger. Hey! Stingray also saying, in a more serious mood here, he's saying that there's an interesting discussion, the latest Mozzie. We're going to try to get Tom, is his name Morse? What's his last name? Get him on the show as well. He's apparently Mozzie, it's a good YouTube channel called Mozzie Sails, and he's doing videos about, here in the wintertime, he's probably a little less busy in the sailmaking and sailing business. ETNZ is rumored to be going with flapless main foils. Ken Saban in Toledo, Ohio, I think, I don't think he really means that. I think, wow, that looks like great fun, towing around out there all day. Well, it's probably, Ken, to be fair, it's no different than the days of going out and just sailing mile after mile after mile and doing sail testing and different testing just along. As a judge, Clark Chapin is saying, I'd say that the determining factor is the dictionary or nautical dictionary definition of mast. Well, that's true. That would be part of it, certainly part of it. I think they are doing more glide testing now than tow testing, Baton Rouge suggests. Interesting. I know it is not, it's not their race boat. That's a test platform. It does look good. I agree it looks good. And John Emmett says he's still working on his audio. Yeah, you have to. We all do. And I won't bore you with the processing I've got here in this fairly fancy soundboard, which does do to this mic a fair bit of cleanup of the audio, which makes it easier on your ears. A tow strut, Graham Sweeney says, not a tow pole. Yeah, towing pole, a tow strut. Presumably the American team will be using a Andrew Pindar gets the joke of the day, a totem pole. Well, I don't know if that's politically correct these days with people referring to Native Americans. They should not be calling it a mast, as Ed Worley is agreeing with me. I agree. I think a 3-leg towing rig would have worked. Tom, you got to come sailing with us sometime, Alex Kent. How about January for the Corinthian Midwinters? What boat is that in, Alex, and where? Here in San Francisco Bay, across the bay at Corinthian Yacht Club? Love to. Replying to Gordon Smith, what else? There's lots of comments here. Ineos built an they did, Steve Gruber's saying, they did build an LEQ 12, a bespoke 40-footer. Not one of the one. That's right. In fact, the one they were, as the Challenger of Record, they were to get the second AC-40 coming out of China. The first one, as you know, broke. They crashed into the water. That was the ETNZ boat. Crashed into the water, broke the bow off, or nearly. And they're having to redesign, engineer those bows, and they will have had to do, they've already shipped their boat to England. That is the AC-40, the one design, and that boat's going to have to be retrofitted with some kind of a design fix. John Emmett said, Mozzie said after Chris, yeah, it'd be easier for me too. I watch Mozzie after this, okay? Mozzie is awesome. Steve Gruber agrees. John's talking about decibels now. He's getting technical on us. He says he changes 3 dB, 3 decibels at a time to see if getting slightly better or worse. Hard to keep the sound floor very low. Yeah, there's lots of things to do to clean up the sound. I mean, normally you would have, in fact, I used to have a mic right up close to right here in front of me, like Julia's headset mic and a high quality dynamic mic. And the closer you are to the mic, the better the capture is, but it looks kind of croutonic, and it makes it difficult for me because I work in here all day, every day, not just doing the show. And if there's a mic right here, you have to swivel it out of the way. So now, television style, we have this overhead shotgun mic, and I'm that far away from it. That's the distance of, what is that? 6, 7, 8 inches. That's what he said. And so it captures more room noise, but I have applied various things to the audio to try to kill the room noise. So if I'm clicking on the desk, I don't think you can hear that. I can hear it, but you can't hear it because of some noise gates and compression and so on that's going on. Okay, any other comments? If Ineos were able to use Ben's pole, they may be able to measure. Alex Kent, we've hosted other former America's Cup and gold medal winner. It didn't help us, but we had the best wine afterwards. Alex, I'd love to come sail with you. Is that on your J105? Is that what you have? What we really need for sound effects is for one of Julia's finger wags, maybe a swish. You think we could get her? I could have on the soundboard. I do have some sound effects over here on this soundboard. I've got a rim shot. I've got crickets. We've got a trombone, a sad trombone. We've got laughter in case we ever need some laughter. I don't ever use those because I think the horn we use, I think they're corny. So, okay, enough of all that. So we could probably, I could work something in here so if Julia does that, I come over here and push the button and we'd hear something. Only it'd be a swishing sound. I don't know. That's a bit corny. It's just one more thing for me to do. I'm already a one-arm paper hanger in here trying to switch the show, itch my nose, switch the slides, run the audio. Strut is a structural component commonly found in engineering, aeronautics, architecture, and anatomy. Struts generally work by resisting longitudinal compression, but they may also serve in tension, not a mast. Okay, a lot of smart guys on here. Whiplash. Remember that movie, Whiplash? Talk about jazz drummers. This is now audio illustrated, Clark Chapin. As the kids would say, will this be on the final Indiana Jones whip crack? Ted Ryman is suggesting. Well, we could probably do that. I could probably get a whip crack on here on the sound panel. That is when Julia does her finger thing, we do something. You come up, I tell you what, you come up with, suggest either here or otherwise your favorite sound for Julia's finger pointing, and I'll add it to the sound pads, and and we'll have a sound for Julia's Julia's famous finger waves. Speaking of famous things, we're now to correct or croutonic, and I am really happy with this one because this was on my Facebook page a couple days ago, and a lot of you thought it was Photoshop. This got more comments than just about anything I've posted in a while. I found this, in fact, who sent that to me? Did one of the Fozy sent that to me. I've got to thank you in here in a bit. And it's obviously a folk boat. It's obviously a Brit folk boat. You can see the lapstrake on the bottom. Beautiful boats, big fleet. Yeah, we got a fleet of them here in San Francisco Bay. Good heavy air, heavy sea boat. And with the guy, you can see the guy underneath it, right? And a lot of you thought this thing, you insisted it was Photoshopped. Well, I didn't know. And I tried to find out. I think it was on the Sailing Facebook website. There's a Facebook page, I should say, called Sailing. And all the people on there post different pictures. And for some reason, they then push them onto my Facebook page to get more exposure, or the Sailing Illustrated Facebook, which I'm happy for them to do, because they also take our show and put it up. It's I think the largest Facebook group. It's just simply called Sailing. Well, this picture showed up there, and I asked you, is it correct or Crutonic, and put it on my Facebook page. And I had to do a fair bit of investigating to see if it were correct or Crutonic. And it was Ivan Grekov from Bulgaria, our good Fozy friend there, who sent that along. Well, I went on to one of the websites. It looks like the Bramblebank. No, Ted Ryman, it's not. It's actually in Gurnard Bay. It's not the Gurnard Ledge, but it's in Gurnard Bay. And I tracked down the photographer, who is a Facebook friend. I've met him before, but we're not big buddies. But he has made a major contribution to today's show. Therefore, he is now a Fozy, a friend of Sailing Illustrated. This is John Green, who I'm sure many of you know, who lives in Cowes. And he took that photo. And then at my request, he sent a series of photos some of them that he took, including this one, where they're aground and they're trying to rock the boat off. And this one, where they're trying, again, they've tacked the boat, now they got the jib up, they're trying to rock it off. I don't know if the water's going up or down, the tide's coming in or out. He didn't know either. But they then got the guy overboard. He did swim around, and I was standing apparently on the rocks trying to help push the boat off. I mean, it's quite an effort. And indeed, they finally did get off. You can see the guy has swum around now to the leeward side, with the starboard side of the boat. And I think they tried to pull him up on the windward side, but that didn't work. So he swam over to the other side, and they're going to pull him up rather. And eventually they did sail away. So it is not Crutonic. This original photo was correct. And thanks to John Green, our Fozy from Cowes, the Isle of Wight in the UK, he said it was taken, those series of photos was taken on the 19th of July, 2017 in Gurnard Bay, which is around the corner from Cowes in the Solent. In fact, for those of you who are geographically challenged, and apparently no, it was not the Gurnard Ledge, Andrew Pindar, according to John Green. He said, no, it was something else, not the ledge. Those of you who know Gurnard and the Isle of Wight, it's just around the corner from Cowes. There it is over to the left on the northwest side of the Isle of Wight on the Solent. You can see Cowes, and they're on the right side of that slide. If I turn off the soccer game, I can, this is what we normally use this television for here, is to run the slides on it as well. So not only do they appear here in the broadcast software, but then they appear up here on this screen, and I can point. There's Egypt Point, speaking of points, and the Royal Yacht Squadron, the Island Sailing Club, the Red Funnel Ferry Dock, and of course, Cowes Yacht Haven West and Cowes Yacht Haven East over on the other side. It used to be. Is it still there? And the Chain Ferry and so on. Fabulous historic Isle of Wight. Really the start of our modern era of our sport, with the America's Cup starting there in, as you all know, 1851. Gurnard Bay is a bay on the northwest coast of the Isle of Wight. In the western arm of the Solent, it lies to the northwest of the village of Gurnard, from which it takes its name. So now today we are Geography Illustrated as well, and our show number 572 gets us to the D block. And some of you got cut off at the end of last Tuesday's show. I didn't have any copy. Maybe there was a burp or a fart or something, hiccup, when we had that music. We played that Long Beach Yacht Club video, and there was some hip music behind it. What was it? Can't remember what the music was. One of you knew it. And apparently it caused some kind of a problem, but I didn't have a copyright strike. The shows were up afterwards. Not everybody got knocked off, but some of you did. So I'm rerunning the pictures from the other day because most of you didn't see them, apparently. This from Ryman, and it was a caption contest. Emmett, we were going to ask John Emmett if this should be a new Olympic class or a new Olympic discipline. All sorts of crude comments, I'm sure, would apply there. And likewise, thanks, Ted Ryman. Likewise to this one, which came from Sweeney. Mr. Tickle wanted to marry the girl of his dreams. However, Tess was reluctant to take on his surname. Graham Sweeney, who is a hoot. We got some real hoots on here, including Ryman and Graham Sweeney and several others. I like this one. It's clean and the sign of the times when a kid says, "Here's Santa's what I want." And those of you who have never tried to link to a product on Amazon, that's the kind of a link you get. A huge, long product code. Tess is funny. Gordon Smith says, "Tess, tickle." Thanks, Jim Palmer here in the States for that one. This came in. This is a new one. Ed Worley sent this in the last couple of days. That's what I do. I sail, I drink, and I know things. You know, I'm thinking that's so good. We ought to change sail fast, sail safe, have fun to I sail, I drink, and I know things. That's probably a better description of this show and all of the Fozy who know so much about what's going on in this world. Thanks, Ed Worley, here in the States, for that one. And he said, yeah, it's the drinking show with a sailing problem. Yeah, indeed. And by the way, I didn't run it, but today is also National Ale Day or National Lager Day or something here in the U.S., but I don't like to use national days. I like to use international world days. Not something applying in this country to that. Speaking of a drinking show with a sailing problem, this came in from Ryman. He said, this is the men's room at the drinking show with a sailing problem. The used beer department. Thank you, Ted. Down in the Republic of South Africa. That should be the Fozy motto. He likes that. I'm going to go back to that. That's what I do. I sail, I drink, and I know things. The Fozy motto. Not the show motto, but maybe with the Fozy motto. My local has urinals for beer, cider, and wine. I'm going to say. You like that urinal. Ryman, I think they like that. Thanks, Ted. Much appreciated. Finally, in a sign of the times, it is the festive holiday season. We've got the poinsettias here and over behind Julie, as I mentioned earlier in the show. We've got the little decorations up above some of the cover slides. Look out, ice hole. What did you call me? It's clean. Graham Sweeney sent that one in. And Graham, thank you very much for that. You're all just a bunch of ice holes. And that means you're, I guess, hockey players or figure skaters on a lake or ice boaters, maybe, who knows. That gets us to the finish line. Gordon Smith saying, ha, ha, ha. And this finish line photo we used Tuesday for the first time. It is an MC Scow Masters Regatta girl photo. I got to find the Regatta girl. Looks like she's in the upper Midwest, but it could be lots of different places. It could be in Texas, could be a lot of places. If anybody knows her. Clark, do you know her? Clark says it might be a good description of the Fozy, but I'd keep the Sailing Illustrated motto. Maybe we'll use Emmett's. One of my locals has urinals for beer, cider, and wine. Okay. Pindar, you knew he'd come up with a clever comment. Come on, John Emmett, they must be taking the piss. Okay. Just a reminder that our upcoming show schedule, as I said at the top of this show, no show next Friday, although we've just moderated that here during the show. John Emmett's going to send a video in. I will do some kind of a taped show, brief, for next Friday, and then run it. It won't be live, but I'll run it at the normal time at 1 o'clock here on the West Coast, which of course plus 8 hours is 2100 UTC, so our usual time. Because I'll be on a plane headed to SoCal for a Christmas party down there of our sailing team. If Julia were here, sad that she's not, but we're making progress, really good progress. I'm quite cautiously optimistic. I'm actually quite optimistic we're going to get her home now, sooner than later. Comments are welcome too, and as I would say, even in replay, but please do like, follow, and share. It does help us with Facebook, with YouTube. By the way, this is the last time I'm going to air the show on my personal Facebook page. John Emmett and others have suggested that we just air it on the Sailing Illustrated Facebook page, and we'll keep doing it on YouTube. I know a lot of you like that. So on my personal Facebook page, this is the last time it will appear on that page, so that all the commenting will go over to one Facebook page, which is the Sailing Illustrated Facebook page. I think it's a good suggestion, John. Thank you very much. Clark Chabon, I'm the only one who has shared thus far. Well, I think a few others did, but thank you, Clark, very much. And also, if you're so inclined, please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Give us a few bucks per month, and we appreciate that, as we do all of those who let us have images and video and audio for today's show. Much appreciated. And great, have all the comments and likes, shares in one place, John Emmett is saying. Yeah, I think that will help. I think that's a good suggestion, John. So again, this is the last time I will air it on my own Facebook page. We'll keep doing it on my Twitter feed. In fact, my Twitter feed's starting to go north. I don't know if Elon Musk is behind that. Probably not. But also on the Sailing Illustrated Facebook page, and we'll continue to air it on YouTube concurrently. Co-webcasted, if that's the right word. Thanks, everybody. We hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And if you can, and celebrate the holidays, relax a little bit. And if you can, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now. And see you Tuesday.